and welcome back to Little Cuts, our weekly mini-sode where we talk about the things that we've been watching recently. I'm Terry.
And I'm Mary Beth. This week we are talking neurotic men with mommy issues, a one-shot murder mystery, mommies and maggots. I don't know how I'm supposed to say this.
It's trimming season and all the girls be needing.
Okay, thank you.
Need some good weed or something like that. I don't know.
Dracula and a unique take on found footage.
Yes.
Sorry, I was like, I can't read. I don't know how to read. I don't know what the tune is here.
I put it out. It's trim-ing C-zone.
Yeah,
So I get
sorry.
it. I get it. Did not register.
I like it. I like what you were going for.
Maybe
but
I thought because I did Everybody Melt Your Body that one time, and you were like right there. So I was like, maybe she'll get this.
My brain's a little bit slow right now, so I'm gonna blame that.
Understandable.
Yeah, it's been a weird one, but that's okay.
Yeah.
But many a movie, many a thing to talk about. So.
Many a thing. Let's start off with neurotic men and mommy issues.
So I can finally talk about a bunch of stuff that I have seen, and I have seen a lot of these bigger upcoming releases. So this is BEAU Is Afraid, Ari Aster's third feature film. His most chaotic, his weirdest. I think probably the most authentically Aster. I mean, I don't obviously have I don't know the guy, but just from watching his short films and seeing kind of the darker comedy that he leaned into with a lot of his earlier work, and you kind of see whispers of that in Hereditary and Midsommar, but this one is very much A24 said, here, have as much money as you want to make the weirdest thing you possibly can, and that is basically what BEAU Is Afraid is. It's a simple premise. Joaquin Phoenix plays a paranoid man named Beau who is going on a journey home to visit his mother. But it's a 3-hour long, perverted hero's journey with a twinge of an Oedipal complex. And it is one of the best representations of intrusive thoughts I've seen in cinema, because the way that I interpreted it, because I think it's gonna be one of those movies where everyone has a different interpretation, because a lot of it is just but a lot of the world is very much exaggerated, and it feels like it feels like a manifestation of the way you think when you catastrophize and have intrusive thoughts and have anxiety and expect the worst from things. This world is basically that come to fruition, and it is ridiculous and wild, but also very well thought out. And Joaquin Phoenix is, of course, incredible. He is the schlubbiest, most pathetic man I've ever seen in this movie. The supporting cast is incredible. Patti LuPone plays his mom, and she fucking kills it. I mean, just
she's great.
It's so hard to talk about this movie because I don't want to spoil things, but it's hard to spoil because this movie is really an experience more than it is a movie. It does not feel like 3 hours. I think it's paced incredibly well. And I think, it's... Okay. The 3 hours is kind of part of the journey in the experience. I mean, I think that parts of it do drag a little bit, because it's a 3-hour long movie. But I do think that there's so much going on to, an overwhelming point that it's, overstimulating. And that's kind of what I got. I was like, this needs to be over. I am overstimulated. I am there's so many things happening on the screen in front of me, and I don't have enough time to process it because it's moving so fast. So,
what you're saying right now reminds me of Mother.
Yeah, so it's been compared to Mother, which is wild because I liked this, but I didn't like Mother. I had not seen Mother in a long time.
I loved Mother.
I fucking hate that movie. But again, haven't seen it in a while. But it feels kind of like Mother. It kind of feels like a perverted Wes Anderson movie a little bit.
The trailers give that sort of whimsical Wes Anderson quality.
Yeah.
Through the Looking Glass.
Yeah, exactly. So it is very much almost vignettes of a hero's journey where he is with people, a group for a certain period of time, and then something happens and he moves on to the next group of people. So it gets why it feels like it moves so fast, because you're moving through different groups and ridiculous nightmare scenarios. So it feels a little it's a little bit easier to chew and digest, basically, to like put it that way. Yeah.
How would you rate it in comparison to the other two in terms of like which of his is your favorite?
So
or are you leaning towards?
Hereditary is like my number one. Beau is Afraid and Midsommar for me.
Okay.
And just as like a preface, this is nothing like Hereditary and Midsommar. Like, you are not gonna get Aster's two previous movies, while they're like very subversive in specific ways, they're very conventional at the same time. You know what I mean? Like, they're working within genre conventions that we're aware of. He is making really good movies, but again, like, he's working within like traditional narrative conventions. It's pretty easy to follow the stories, kind of thing. This is very experimental. It's very funny. It's anxiety inducing intense, but it's not necessarily a horror movie. Unless you want to talk about like the horrors of the mind, et cetera, et cetera. But like, it again, like, this is going to be a very interesting one to see what reactions are going to be like, because it is so different. So all of the A24 girlies who have made his movies their personality, like, I'm very curious how they're going to feel about this one, because it's just so different. And Purpurina, there is not an intermission. Unfortunately, there is no intermission. I know that RRR cares about us as people and gives us a break, but Aster said no. Yeah, so just like get right, just pee right before. And I drank a margarita while I watched it, and I was good, but I did have to pee afterward. But I nursed that margarita because I was like, I don't want to have to get up, because this is a movie where you get up and you come back and you're gonna be in like a completely different place, and you're gonna be like,
what happened in
like,
the last
the guy
5
sitting
minutes?
next to me got up and came back, and like I was like, I feel bad for your wife who has to like explain what happened to you, because again, like, there's not really a moment that you can really get up and come back and understand. But at the same time, like, yeah, I don't know. It's a journey. And I really liked it. But again, it's going to be one of those divisive movies that everyone's going to be arguing about. It's going to set off discourse all over the place. Aster's just like a weird fucking dude. Just a weirdo.
Yeah. I'm excited to see it.
He's so private, but he has so many mommy issues. Like, it's incredible. And, like, maybe one day he'll open up about it. But at the same time, like, he's not obligated to. It's just, like... And maybe I am just, like, projecting too much parasocial bullshit onto this director. It's just, like... You have so many... The through line of all of your movies is, like, relationship problems with the parent. Like, Midsommar was... That was at the beginning. But still, like... Yeah. But anyway. I really enjoyed it. It's fucking nuts. It's going to be overstimulating. It doesn't really make a lot of sense, but just kind of like give yourself over to it and kind of just like let yourself be like kind of, it's like a riptide. Just like, don't fight it. Just go with the flow, and then it'll dump you out when it's done, and you'll be exhausted, but you'll be alive.
Don't swim against the current.
I guess that's
just let it
that's not the most the most positive metaphor I probably could have come up with for this movie.
Probably not, but
it is edible movie vibes. I did not see this stoned. I've been doing less of that. But yeah. So, Beau is Afraid.
Hell yeah.
Wild. What's this one-shot murder mystery? I love a good one-shot murder mystery.
I mean, who doesn't? And this continues the A24 train because, so we're going to both be covering Panic Fest this weekend. The embargo is up on reviews. I've only seen a few movies already. We'll be watching a whole lot this weekend. But the one that I did watch, because I did get a screener for it, and it had like a short view window, was MEDUSA Deluxe.
Oh, yeah.
Which is an A24 movie that will be coming out, I think, in June. And it is a murder mystery set in a competitive hairdressing competition.
I just feel like it's such a good setting. And I've heard of this, and I'm so excited to hear you talk about it, because I just feel like it's such a good place to put something fucked up happening.
Yeah, and so it opens up with, and you start to like very quickly realize that this is going to be a one-take kind of movie, where the camera is focusing on this woman who is doing I mean the characters' hair in this movie look like they belong in Whoville. It's very avant-garde, up top, little Cindy Woohoo type, shtick. And this woman is doing someone's hair while talking about the fact that the person that is one of the people, I believe, I have to go back and look at my notes, but I believe that he owns owns like a competing studio to hers, was found this morning scalped at the hairdressing competition. And so the camera starts to follow people and you start to like think, is it this person? Is it this person? As the camera will follow someone and then veer off and follow someone else.
Okay.
And sort of like kind of go behind the scenes of like this drama that unfolds, and you start to see that all these people had issues with this guy that was scalped, and see that like there's a lot more other nefarious things might be going on in the background of this competition. Is it fixed? That kind of stuff. Why was he scalped? There's this security guard that's walking around cleaning up after blood, and you're like, what's his story? The woman that we open the movie with is like talking about her own problems with this guy. And so there's a lot of little bickering and a lot of little story threads that could potentially kind of point to either a red herring or be an actual clue for what's going on. And it plays out again in one real time, one long take.
Why is everyone doing that now? Not everyone, but I feel like, why are we doing this to ourselves? I mean, look, I respect it, but just like...
I do too. I will say it does, in some parts, it kind of brought down my experience of this movie. Because there's a lot of walking.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
So there's a lot of times where it's just basically padding out that runtime because person has to get from X to Y, and so it just feels like, okay, we're following them. Sometimes interesting things happen, but there's a lot of walking in that middle section as the camera continues to follow people. But I think it's I think it's fun. I don't think it's one of the best A24 movies I've seen, but I enjoyed it. I don't think it's one that I'll probably either end up owning or going back to, but for what it was a wild trip. It does this really cool thing at one point where there is a time jump, but it's happening while the camera is moving. And so there's like interesting things that at play there, like technically, that I think is really kind of cool, the way that they stage some of the things that happen. So it's fun. I think I'm curious to see what the writer-director Thomas Hardiman, I'm curious to see what he's going to do next. But yeah, I really enjoyed it, and it is playing at Panic Fest this weekend.
Okay, that was one of the ones I'm going to request, so I'm very excited to check that one out.
Yeah, I think it's worth a watch.
Cool.
I do.
Sick.
Going back to mommy issues or something. Mommies and Maggots.
Mommies and Maggots.
I'm really excited about this one.
I'm not going to say too much because I know that everyone is like, it isn't going to be out for another week, but this is Evil Dead Rise, obviously. I hosted a screening last week and I got to see it in all of its disgusting, bloody glory. And I really enjoyed it. This is the fifth one, directed by Lee Cronin, who did A Hole in the Ground. And instead of being...
Underrated,
I know.
Hole in the Ground.
So kind of taking us from the woods of most of the Evil Dead movies, sans Army of Darkness. Taking what's going on, what is like we've seen with the Necronomicon and the demons, and placing it within an LA high-rise apartment where we have a woman who is a roadie, basically, kind of realizing, fuck, like I am doing a lot of drugs and getting wasted, and she's pregnant, and she's like, I need to go see my family. So she goes, and her only family is her sister and her sister's 3 kids, goes to visit her sister and her 3 kids, and then shit goes down, and it's mean. This movie is not afraid to be mean. It's not afraid to kill people of all ages. It is just absolutely gnarly. There are some parts of it that I was like a little bit iffy on, but that's fine. I think that they lean too much into motherhood stuff in a way that like really annoyed me. Okay. But that's just me. And then I wanted just a little bit more humor in it. It definitely is like very self-serious in what it's doing, which is fine. It's just, and like there are some callbacks to stuff in Evil Dead, like the original ones, and I think it does do like a good job with homaging. I just think it's a little bit serious. But that's, I mean, like, again, that's fine. I think Elisa Sutherland, who plays the mom, who is like the kind of main demon, as we've seen in the trailers and stuff, she is fucking incredible. Like, she is terrifying, and the physicality and her facial expressions, like, oh my god, she's incredible. It's just like a mean, nasty movie at the beginning. Like the cold open just like really gets right to it. It's so yeah. It's definitely worth the hype.
Hell yeah. I'm so excited. What, because I do think the last one was kind of self-serious in a lot of ways. Is there callbacks to that at all?
Not that I can remember. I have to watch it again. It was mostly, I feel like, callbacks just like to the predecessors. Yeah, you're right. Because as I was saying, like, the 2013 one is like self-serious, but
I think there's like a tinge of dark comedy to that one though. Like, I think that what happens in it is a little self-serious, but I think because it's so over the top in like a woman cutting off her arm or slicing her tongue in two, that there's a little bit of dark comedy that kind of comes with that nature, if that makes sense.
This one is over the top, but not in a way that kind of is campy. It's like fucked up. Okay. So like, it's just like, at one point, she calls her kids titty-sucking parasites, which was, like, that was funny. Like, I wanted more of that. So, like, they had, like, these twinges of, like, incredible lines that I wanted more of. I know. It was, when I am telling you, it's, like, the most incredible line. And I was like, see, like, that's why I love Evil Dead movies, because they say these depraved things that are both really funny, but, like, pretty fucked up. And, like, if you really, it's, like, fucked up, but it's so fucked up that you have to laugh. It's mean, it's gnarly, it's bloody. So, I mean, like, what else could you ask for?
I'm so excited. Yeah. This has been a busy month.
I can't.
I have to say.
April's really, because I have another fucking movie, and there's a couple other ones coming out, too. And there's Dead Ringers show that I'll talk about next week, because there's too many things to talk about.
Oh my gosh. Speaking of which, can I add an addition to mine?
Yeah, oh, duh. I just, like, cannot believe how much stuff is coming out in April and March. Like, it's super weird. I feel like I don't know anything coming out in the summer at this point. That's probably a lie, but, like, right now, I feel like everything is coming out now. Ugh. But, and I'll talk about this again, but with my next one, but it's, like, it is cool to get to see all of these movies coming to theaters. And, like, I know that we are still in a pandemic. It's a different, like, the way people are dealing with it is obviously very different. And if you still aren't comfortable going to theaters, please don't go. It's really cool to have theaters coming back, for better, for worse. I know that there's a lot of complicated feelings around that, because I definitely have complicated feelings around that. But it is kind of cool to see all of these horror movies, like, getting so much attention, because I feel like so many of these big theatrical releases right now are horror or horror adjacent, and it's just cool to see this genre getting that much love.
Yeah.
So hopefully that can, like, an upward trajectory, hopefully. But, yeah. It's trimming season and all the girls be mean.
All the girls be mean.
I need a fat joint. I need a fat joint. I need a fat joint. All right. I think I know what this is, but tell me about this movie from Panic Fest.
Okay, so this is the debut feature film, I believe. So this is her second feature, Ariel Vida, who has been a production designer on a lot of, if not most of, Justin Benson and Aaron Moorhead's films. On The Endless, Something in the Dirt. She was a production designer for She Dies Tomorrow by Amy Seimetz. She's done a lot of that type of work, and then she had a movie that came out in 2022. It looks like, called Vide Noir, and then she has a new film premiering at Panic Fest called Trim Season. And Trim Season is about a group of young people who end up getting recruited through a friend who is seeing some guy, and he's recruiting the two girls who want to make like basically $5,000 in 2 weeks, pretty much. One of them is going through some financial situations. She just got fired from her job. Her car is breaking down. Her phone is cracked. She is getting evicted by her roommate. So she really needs the money. And they are going to go with a couple other people up to a remote marijuana farm to trim marijuana leaves or the buds.
Yeah, they're gonna.
I learned more about the actual process of harvesting. I
don't know anything about look. I buy it post harvested in a bag, and I'm just like, cool. I don't know anything about the process of getting this to this point, but thank you for your service.
Yeah, and so it's yeah. So
is it a slasher?
No, it is. Let me.
Sorry,
let me
I'm
try
asking questions.
I want to. No, I'm glad you are. Trim season. If I were to like describe it, I had to think of the best way that I'm going to be probably describing it in my review. Trim season is Suspiria in a weed field.
Oh, fuck yeah. Oh, man. And it's directed by a woman. Oh, my God. This is my shit. You have spoken to my soul on the deepest level possible.
And yeah, it's a bunch of women who are going up to this remote place to trim buds, and weird witchy things are happening around them. There is this woman who is decked out in leather gloves and looking like a goth queen, just walking among the people who owns this farm, and she seems a little witchy. There's like weird things happening. The cast is stacked. We have Bethlehem Million, who was in Sick recently, the slasher that we saw back in January. She was in that. Alex Esso from all the Flanagan stuff is in it. She was in Doctor Sleep. She was in Hill House. She's been in a lot of Flanagan stuff. Bex Taylor Klaus is playing a character in it.
Man, you
really
are just like saying so many like sexy words to me right now. When you fucking said Suspiria in a weed field, I was like, I am in heaven.
It definitely has that. It looks really good, but it's an indie film. But it definitely gives me sort of giallo aesthetics, Suspiria aesthetics, witchy goodness going on there. So I'm gonna stick by it. That's what I'm gonna call it. It's also playing at Panic Fest this weekend. I really enjoyed this one a lot. I went into it excited to see it, and I really enjoyed it. It was a lot. It was a lot of fun. Good witchy goodness. Good witchy goodness. That was a lot of goods. But
oh fuck yeah! Okay, cool. I'm dog sitting this weekend, so I'm like gonna be by myself in like the house where the ghost thing happened the last time. So I'm like so stoked to just like watch a bunch of horror movies with these two dogs and like maybe have a ghost manifest again. We'll see.
As long as they don't damage your microphone.
I know. So we'll see if they hit the microphone off the table again. We'll see. Anyway. Oh gosh. Panic Fest rules. Panic Fest has so many cool movies. I'm like super stoked to watch.
I love Panic Fest.
There's like so many movies that I hadn't really heard of before this festival, and they always deliver some like really cool shit. So I'm super excited to just like dig into the, because I need to request a bunch of stuff, but I have a list, and I'm just like, there's just so much good cinema.
Yeah. So this is one I would recommend, especially if Suspiria in a weed field tickles your funny bone.
Cool.
As I think
that sounds good.
Let's hear about Dracula.
It's so funny. It's so funny. I just got a message from Josh Corngut saying my trim season review is ready for you to look at.
Hopefully he liked it.
So I saw Renfield, which is also out as of the publication of this episode, which is the Chris McKay film starring Nicholas Hoult as Renfield and Nicolas Cage as Dracula. And I had a lot of fun. Like, it's not like a game changer, but like it's super dumb and so like it kind of knows what it is. I feel like there are points where like it might be trying like a little bit too hard, but it also like it's a horror comedy that isn't afraid to be disgusting. I feel like so often horror comedies like aren't gory. This one is like blood everywhere. Like this one is like limbs getting pulled off, like ridiculous death upon ridiculous death. And I love that because again, I feel like with horror comedies, it's like they don't want to add the gore, but here they really go for the horror nastiness. So to like make up for a lot of the jokes that are happening and like it is pretty funny. They add in lots of like gratuitous violence in a way that I'm like, okay, they did a good job balancing, because I think again it is so hard to balance those two. Holt is a cutie. Nicolas Cage is having so much fun as like, and the metaphor, the trailer showed too much, which is annoying, but like the whole like metaphor about being in a codependent relationship is like really funny. It's just like the whole thing is ridiculous. Aquafina is fine, but it's just fun. It's just like stupid, dumb fun, like that you go to the movie theaters to see. Like it's the perfect popcorn movie to go see with some friends in the movie theater on like a Saturday night. Like it's exactly what it is. Like, and I love that though. Like we have like BEAU Is Afraid and Evil Dead Rise coming out. They got fucking Renfield at the same time. Like I love that. And Renfield is like so much fun. I hope people go see it because I think it is a really good theater movie. Like at one point, someone in my the group experience of some of the deaths, and like someone at one point yelled in my theater, "That was some Mortal Kombat shit," twice. So, like, that should kind of prepare you for, like, what you're gonna see. And I love that. I didn't expect it to be as violent. And, like,
okay,
I love that for it. The comedy is, there's only a couple annoying poop jokes where I'm like, God damn it, guys. Like, you guys have so many other jokes in this that are funny that you don't have to talk about poop. But I also really love, okay, one of the poop jokes was Fantastic Purpurina. I did like one of the poop jokes, but the rest of them, there weren't that many. But yeah, it's just fun. It's good, dumb fun. There's some really good callbacks to the original 1931 Bela Lugosi Dracula with like black and white, like the shots of the eyes with Nicolas Cage as Dracula. Like Nicolas Cage was born to play this role. It was really fun to watch him just like ham it up and just be ridiculous. It definitely sounds like he cannot talk with those teeth in, which is so funny. But the whole thing is ridiculous and fun. Like, it's just a fun horror movie. Like, you know, I talked about two, like, very, like, serious, like, cerebral movies, and then there's this one. And I'm like, I love horror. Yeah. It's just fucking fun. So you could either go see BEAU Is Afraid or Renfield this weekend. I feel like Renfield will probably get more attention than BEAU Is Afraid. For a lot of reasons.
See, and it's not playing here. BEAU Is Afraid is not playing here until the next following week. It's being lumped in with Evil Dead Rise.
Oh, interesting. Yeah, they're probably A24 is probably like, fuck. But like Renfield is the kind of movie that is going to get people into seats. You know what I mean? Like it's got that mass appeal to all people, like people who love horror for all types of reasons. It isn't like an elevated or like whatever. It's just very much like a horror movie that is made for like all types of horror fans. So I think that one's going to play really well, like in theaters with audiences. I was surprised how much I had fun with it. I went in with very low expectations and I was surprised. Also, hold on, I need to look up her name really quick because I always forget her name.
While you're doing that, I also meant to add when in Medusa Deluxe that the woman that plays Karen in Wreck, the kind of cruise leader, she's in it and she's really good in it as well. I meant to mention that.
Hell yeah.
So there's a callback to our Wreck episode.
But so her name is Shohreh Agashtalu. She was in The Expanse. She has
The Expanse?
Yeah, so she is in The Expanse as like she's an Iranian actor. She was in Run Sweetheart Run, if anyone saw that at the end. She was also in that movie with Ben Kingsley. Yeah.
And Jennifer Connelly, that I can't think of the name off the top of my head. I love
House
of Sand?
Yes. Sand and Fog? House of Sand and Fog?
House of Sand and Fog. We got there.
Yeah, the House of Sand and Fog. But she is in it as a villain, and this bitch is just, she's so good in everything she does. Like, she just has such, like, an air about her, but she's really...
And her voice is just...
I just wanted more of her in this just because I love her, but I just love that she's becoming, like, a genre, like, a pop-up of, like, a strong bad bitch in genre movies. I'm like, continue this for her, because I love her.
Yeah.
She's so good. And she just has this, like, air about her, especially in this. And her outfits in this are incredible. So, yeah. So, Renfield, if you want, like, a fun thing to watch this weekend in theaters, I would highly suggest checking it out.
So, before we do move on to the found footage,
I
wanted to quickly bring up this TV show that I literally binged the entire first season over the course of a few days. From... which is a horrible name because you start trying to Google anything and the word from, and you're going to get anything but this TV show. So as much as maybe it's going to make sense for a title, it's a horrible title. I'm just going to throw that out there because it's just not doing anything. However, I wanted to put this out there because season 2 is going to be dropping on April 23rd. And the first season, it's an MGM Plus show, but it's also on Prime. And so you can watch the first season on Prime. Have you seen From?
No, I haven't. I just know a lot about it. I just know that also Josh Korngut watched a bunch of it and is like, holy shit, people are sleeping on this movie.
People are sleeping on this. I remember hearing about it when it first came out, and I didn't really... It was streaming on Paramount Plus, or it wasn't even Paramount. I don't know, CBS All Access. I don't remember. It was streaming somewhere. I didn't have it at the time. I just stayed away from it. And I am so angry that I did, but I'm so glad that I watched it now because it's by one of the executive producers of Lost and also director of Lost. That directed a lot of Lost stuff, Jack Bender, who we also talked about with Child's Play 3. Can't all be winners, but he also was an executive producer on Lost, and this feels very Lostian except horror. This is like, instead of getting lost on an island that has like genre sci-fi type stuff, they are trapped in a town where at night these zombie / vampiric / demonic creatures descend upon them with smiles that gives the Smile Lady from Smile a run for her money, and try to beckon people to open their doors and let them in. And then they literally tear them apart. Just like rip open their rib cage, devour their insides, and leave the bodies. So we have that going on while the town traps people, and they're stuck in this small town that literally just has a diner and a gas station and a church and a few houses.
It's not post-apocalyptic, they're just trapped in the town, right?
They're just trapped. Exactly.
Couldn't remember.
The town looks post-apocalyptic, but they come in from various places, but they all see the same thing. There's a tree along the road, they take a detour, and they end up in this town, and they can't escape.
It's got Stephen King vibes, doesn't it?
Yes, okay. It reminds me a little bit, has like, I would say Jerusalem's Lot kind of feel to it, mixed with like Lost.
I mean, and it's you're really speaking good. My language.
It's paced so...
Speaking my language.
It's paced so well.
I know. I need to watch
Lost
it.
Was like... Seriously. I the only reason I did is because someone had reached out and gave me screeners for season 2, and I was like, fuck, I've not even seen season 1. Let me see what the show's about. I started watching the first season on a lark, and I was like, nope, I gotta finish this show. It's paced so well. There's not an ounce of fat, in my opinion, in this first season. This first season is just paced to perfection. There's always something going on. It is a locked box mystery of like Lost feel, but like I'll tell you, every time an episode is over, it's like, holy shit, it's the end of the episode? Next. Even though these are like 55-minute episodes.
Right.
It's really enthralling television.
All right. Yeah, I gotta get on the train. You're like the 4th person this week to talk to me about From. Like, I gotta hop on this shit. And then Harold Perrineau is in it, and he's always incredible. He was in Lost. He was in Lost. Walt, he was Walt's dad.
Walt!
But he's so good. He's always so good in everything he's in. Like, he was fucking Mercutio in the Romeo plus Juliet Baz Luhrmann movie. Anyway.
Yes, he was.
I need to watch it.
He's great in this. It's a great cast. It is a fantastic show. It's not afraid to put people through shit. Like, it will kill off characters that I was surprised to see killed off. It is incredibly vicious, killing kids. Like, it is
Fuck
going
yeah.
to go there.
Fuck yeah. All right.
It's gonna go there. So just highly recommend first season. Go watch it. And I'm gonna talk about season 2 once season 2 comes out, but I'm going to talk in very minor terms. I want to put out here, just because I was not prepared, there are spiders, and they are terrifying. Just going to put that out there. I was not prepared for that. I literally watched some of the scenes with my hands over my eyes going, is it done yet? Because I can't. And they were gross. So, paying it forward in that regard.
You are God's strongest soldier.
All right, but finally, what is this found footage movie recommended by Tony Kaufman on Patreon that he wanted me to see? What did we watch this week, Mary Beth?
We watched the 2015 found footage film SAVAGELAND. I'm very curious about what you think of this movie. I've seen this movie multiple times. I have loved it, and I am very curious because this is like a deep cut found footage movie. This is like, we're really putting Terry through the education, like deep cut education parts now.
So here's what I will say. So like the premise behind Savageland, and I think you've talked about this on a Little Cuts episode, I believe.
I've talked about it before. I've talked about this movie in at least one occasion, if not multiple.
Mm-hmm. So there's like an Arizona-Mexico border town that is wiped out overnight. The only survivor they find happens to be an illegal immigrant, and it follows a sort of like a documentary about his arrest, him basically being railroaded for the murder of dozens of people overnight, and is sentenced to be executed. And then there's a roll of footage that ends up showing up of like, I think 36, is that right? Snapshots that...
So.
30-something.
There is, yeah, around that. Probably 30, because most film cameras only take about up to 30 shots, I think.
Yeah, I couldn't remember exactly the number, but there was like 30-ish shots that this man had taken over the course of the night that show surprising things. I was surprised at how professional this movie looked for something that is vaguely unheard of. Like, yeah. I don't think this is one that keeps coming up.
No, this is very much like you really only know about it if you're like a more hardcore found footage head. Like, this is not usually talked about with found footage, unfortunately. Should be. But it definitely is not a title that is like, that comes up when like found footage movies are talked about, generally speaking.
But I was surprised at how professional it was. And I mean, listeners, we're going to talk about spoilers, so as normal. But I just want to throw that out there. If you haven't seen this movie and you want to,
it's streaming. It's pretty easy to find it on streaming.
Mm-hmm. I watched it on Tubi.
It's on Tubi. Yeah, I knew it was on Tubi.
That's the only place I think it was available for me, was on Tubi.
But
it might be on the Roku channel too, according to IMDb. Listeners, if you hopefully you're either okay with spoilers or you've gone and watched the episode, but what I thought was really fascinating is how this movie documented what would probably happen in the case of a real zombie uprising.
Yeah, that's what's so fucking scary about this movie too, to me. Like, there's no...
It just made me think about, like, I mean, Night of the Living Dead, obviously, with the kind of quality of the images and the black and white nature of the shots, and like just sort of the stark features of these things on the hill slowly descending upon the town. But it just got me thinking, oh God, if this were to really happen and we were to really have zombies happening, you would not be able to tell that there was something happening, because it would just be dead bodies that would be cut apart and shot in the head. And if you're the only survivor in a town of dead bodies that have been eaten by the zombies, who are either A, dead, or B, have moved on to their next meal, it's going to look like you did it. And that, to me, was like, oh, that's actually kind of terrifying and smart. So that is one thing I really did like about
this.
It's
a really smart take on both found footage and zombies. Like, you know, we've, especially in 2015, that was like probably the tail end of like the zombie train that we were on for a while in popular culture. But it was, again, like, we didn't see any, like, ambling bodies. We didn't see, like, guts falling out. We saw these really incredible black and white photographs that are not clear at all. And that's one of the things, like, you can tell, like, he's running and taking pictures. These aren't, like, beautiful, clear images. Like, this is very much someone who is on the run and trying to, like, escape without a flash. So, like, a lot of it, the images that they create are terrifying in their own right. And then it's just like this poor guy, one of the parts I think is the most chilling, where he's like, I don't want to get out of prison, like I don't want to go back out there to where those things are, because they basically like come and go and we don't know what's next. So it's like this really fascinating, again, like the beginning of a zombie event happening and like capturing that here. And it also is a very political in terms of immigration.
Oh, that's the other part. Mm-hmm.
Like, and again, like found footage doesn't typically get political or do that, but this is like a very poignant look at like how people think of Mexican citizens and illegal immigration, and like it's I think it comes together, especially for an indie horror movie that like not many people have heard of. Like, it's really fucking smart.
Yeah, and I guess what I did realize watching this is that these documentary style things don't really scare me. Like, I wasn't scared at all through this. I thought, ooh, that image is kind of creepy. But it didn't really, like, I don't know, it didn't really affect me very much. But I was really enthralled the entire way, and it got me thinking about, again, how smart it was to use this kind of problem to look at the way people scapegoat immigrants with all the ills of society is because of the people crossing the border. So I thought that was interesting, and I thought that it was an interesting, very grounded look at what actually probably would happen if there was a small zombie apocalypse. So it worked really well for me. I really enjoyed it. I was very surprised in how much I enjoyed it.
See, like, this is why I love found footage, because so many people for so long, and this is quasi-directed at you, Terry, but not really, because you've given it a chance, are like, oh, all the found footage is so shitty. I'm like, okay, there's a lot of shitty found footage because everyone thinks they can make a found footage movie. And that's why. Because it's a really easy format for new filmmakers to go out and make things, which is great, but also you get a lot of bullshit. But when I say that there are such intelligent, cool, smart things happening with found footage that we are not seeing with any other, like, narrative technique in horror, like, this is one of the movies I'm, like, talking about, of, like, writing off the subgenre of found footage is writing off some of the coolest shit I've ever seen done with a horror film and with zombies. And, like, I just think that there's so much that people miss out on because they're like, oh, found footage. And I'm like, no, I promise you. Like, and especially now that found footage is shifting with, like, Unfriended and, like, playing with technology and influencer horror even more. It's just cool what people can accomplish with it. And I think SAVAGELAND is an example of something that needs a lot more credit, especially for when it was released. So I'm glad that you liked it. It's different than, like, most found footage, but I think that works to its advantage for the most part. So I'm glad you liked it.
Yeah, I did. I thought it was a lot of fun. Yeah, so what are we talking about next week on Little Cuts, Mary Beth?
So next week on Little Cuts, we mentioned that we are going to be covering Panic Fest this weekend, so we will be talking about all Panic Fest movies next week. So that'll be lots of cool, weird indie things that you probably haven't heard of, that I hadn't heard of, and I'm excited to dig in because I've got a super long list of cool shit to watch.
I will say I am so far 3 for 3 on the movies I've watched for Panic.
Hell yeah! So. Oh, cool. Oh, I love to hear that. Oh, future Little Cuts watch along Los Spookies. I do need to watch that.
Oh, I would be down for that, Purparita, because I do love me some Los Spookies.
Yeah, you've talked about it on the show before.
I'm sad that it got canceled. That'd be kind of a fun thing to do.
We can talk about it.
All right.
But then, what are we doing for our episode on Monday, Terry?
So on Monday, we are going to be releasing, this is the first time we've done this on the main feed, we're going to be releasing a Patreon episode from Fresh Wounds, our $10 tier, to kind of give our listeners a little hint about what we are doing for our patrons. And we're releasing the one that we did on Lake Mungo. So that's exciting. And then also for our Patreon subscribers, we will be releasing a bonus mini-sode for the $5 and up tier for Scream 6 after the VOD launches, and we have a chance to like rewatch it again. We're going to give you kind of a little spoilery discussion, sort of like what we did with Barbarian back in December, I think it was, for our patrons, since again we're putting up one of the Fresh Wounds episodes. So
listeners, you've heard from us, but we want to hear from you. Have you seen any of the things that we've seen and want to, tell us how you feel about them, or which ones are you most excited about? You can send us an email at scarredforlifepodcast@gmail.com, or you can reach out to us directly on Twitter. I am at MB McAndrews.
And I'm at Gaily Dreadful.
And of course, don't forget to follow the podcast on Twitter at Scarred Podcast.
And please don't forget to review, rate, and subscribe, and sign up for our Patreon. By the time this episode is out, there is a new Fresh Wounds episode on High Tension that you can listen to, almost like 2 hours worth of discussion.
It is.
I know Mary
I was editing it, and
week.
Just a quick side story about how much I love you guys as listeners. I edited it. It's a 2-hour-long episode. I spent half of my day working on it, and then my Audacity project crashed and didn't recover the project. That's why it's a little bit late. I apologize, everybody. I had a week plus Audacity lost like 4 or 5 hours of work for me. So it's just, but you know what? It's fine. We got it out.
I've been there and it sucks.
So I love you guys. This is how much we love you. I almost wanted to smash my computer into pieces. I didn't, but mentally I did.
I know that feeling. So
it's like, is this really
That happened to me once on like a really poorly
no!
audio captured episode. And the whole thing, so like you're like almost done and then it crashes after you've had to like do so much silencing and stuff, like, and then it crashes. It's like, oh my God, I gotta take a walk. I quit.
I gotta take a fucking walk around the block. I know. I was like, it was awful. Anyway, thank you to Eric Bauer for our artwork. Thank you to Sean Keller for our music. Thank you everyone for listening. Please stay safe out there, but most importantly, stay creepy.
And until next time.